Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, let's take a look at who Manchester United should have signed every year going back as far as 2003. These aren't just names plucked out of the blue, these were players the club looked at, were linked with and by all accounts tried to sign. But obviously not hard enough. Alright, let's go. 2002, Craig Bellamy. Yeah, probably a bad start to get this list off to, but lads, Craig Bellamy might have been a big bag of arguments, but on his day he was one hell of a nuisance. He might not have been the best goal scorer and had hamstrings made of jelly, but his pace and work rate used to frighten the life out of defenders. I think had Man United made good other efforts to sign him from Newcastle in 2002, this guy could have been a great impact sub, squad player at Old Trafford for about a decade. But no, he went to play for the most hated rivals instead. 2003, Patrick Vieira. Pairing Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane in the same goddamn midfield, in the same dressing room, it's like chucking two hungry Rottweilers into the same house and just hoping that they'll get along. In reality, they'd probably rip each other's ears off. I'm not talking about the dogs, but this wasn't completely outlandish. Sir Alex Ferguson tried to sign Patrick Vieira from the arch-enemy Arsenal at least twice, with a Frenchman claiming he wanted to join. 2003 would have been perfect. Not only would it rob the Gunners of their inspirational captain weeks before the invincible season, he'd have been the perfect captain replacement for Roy Keane, who only had 18 months left at the club before it all went up in flames. Considering Vieira continued playing Champions League football for the next 6 years, what a signing he would have been. 2004, Arjen Robben. Remember when Chelsea signed a teenage Arjen Robben for PSV in 2004? Don't forget the Flying Dutchman was actually in talks at Man United. He'd gone for dinner with Ferguson, was shown around the training ground, and had they offered him a deal, he'd have joined them instead. How many times did Robben have to come back and haunt Man United to rub in the point that they should have signed him for 12 million quid? He was just 19 years of age. Considering how long he lasted at the top for Chelsea, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, United could realistically have squeezed 15 seasons out of the lad. That's more than their club record goal scorer managed. 2005, Michael Essien. This would have been a tailor-made replacement for Roy Keane. It's fair to say Sir Alex Ferguson spent years pining for adequate midfielders. Why else do you think Anderson and Cleverley played over 250 games between them? Those two were about as qualified to orchestrate a Manchester United midfield as I am to perform open heart surgery. I'd end up tossing the thing out the window. Essien was a boyhood Manchester United fan, a failed trialist as a boy, and now United were ready to sign him from Lyon. Clearly they should have tried harder. Instead of letting him sign a deal at Chelsea, offer him more money, offer him a house, a new car, a new wife and kids, anything, because that man lasted nearly a decade at Stamford Bridge. 2006, Michael Ballack.
United agree Ballack deal for 2006.
Manchester United have only themselves to blame for this. Had they not crashed and burned in the Champions League group stages that season, finishing bottom of a group that included Benfica and Lille, and German legend Michael Ballack would have been joining them on a free transfer from Bayern Munich, not Chelsea. According to the player, he backed out of a deal because he wasn't convinced the club could compete in Europe. Bit awkward when 2 years later he had a first-hand view of them lifting the actual European Cup on that Moscow pitch. Anyway, at 30 years of age, this experienced winner would have been captain material to stick next to Paul Scholes in the middle of the park, instead of trying to twist Alan Smith into a makeshift midfielder until he snapped like a twig. 2007, Fernando Torres. Sir Alex Ferguson said he tried many times to sign Fernando Torres from Atletico Madrid. Well, clearly he should have tried harder. Don't be fooled by Torres' decline into that walking joke last decade. That was a shadow of the player he once was. During the mid-2000s, he was arguably the most dangerous centre-forward on the face of the planet. Instead of spending 2007 trying to entice Carlos Tevez into a complicated 2-year loan deal before having their hands burned in 2009, they should have just gone for Torres. Not only would it have been a much more straightforward deal, not only would they be depriving their Merseyside rivals of a title challenge, I'm pretty sure a telepathic link-up between Wayne Rooney and Torres would have been world-class in every sense of the word. 2008, Aaron Ramsey. Well, the club did try to sign Philip Lahm from Bayern Munich back in 2008. Would have been a perfect replacement for the injured Gary Neville. There would have been no need for those god-awful Brazilian twins. Instead though, I'm going to go with Aaron Ramsey. Not only were Man United chasing the 17-year-old FA Cup finalist with Cardiff, they announced they'd signed him.
United have agreed a fee with Cardiff City to bring talented teenager Aaron Ramsey to Old Trafford.
Listen, he'd have been a perfect box-to-box midfield sensation and would almost certainly have spelled the end of Tom Cleverley's career before it even began. How could they let him waltz out to Arsenal instead? That was just negligence. 2009, Douglas Costa.
Manchester United in fresh contact with Gremio over Douglas Costa.
I remember this transfer saga back in 2009 when Douglas Costa was an 18-year-old talent tipped as the next Ronaldinho. I remember how Manchester United were offering 7 million quid. And I also remember the story about them wanting him on trial first instead of trusting their gut. Fair enough. Quite reasonable for Fergie to want to see him up close, but then again, within a year, the man was chucking the same transfer fee at Mbappe, a former star at a homeless World Cup. It's 11 years later and Costa is now a world star playing alongside Ronaldo at Juventus, while Mbappe, Rayo Vallecano, Christ above. 2010, David Silva. Yep, 2010 was the year David Silva's name was splashed across the back pages of every newspaper across the planet. A 23-year-old Valencia playmaker linked with half of Europe. But Sir Alex Ferguson rejected the chance due to his lack of defensive diligence.
We watched Silva a lot when he played at Valencia, and the other player they had, the same type years before it, played in that number 10 role. My problem with that was you have to be very, very good to play in that position because there's no defensive duties for them.
So he rejected the luxury player Silva for these reasons, and yet 4 years later splashed out on Shinji Kagawa? literally makes no sense. 2011 Wesley Sneijder.
Wesley Sneijder confirms unofficial talks with Man United.
Ah yes, the never-ending saga. Many Man United fans might look at Wesley Sneijder, ending his career in disgrace as a fat lump of butter out the back as a guitar. Surely he'd be in a short-term quick fix, but what's wrong with that? In many ways, those were the signings that Sir Alex Ferguson did best. Edmund van der Sar, Robben van Persie. Back in 2011, United were bereft of ideas in the middle of the park, to the extent where they were forced to beg Paul Scholes out of retirement. Considering they lost the Premier League title in goal difference due to their shoddy midfield, I think the signing of Sneijder from Inter Milan could have bagged them another trophy. 2012 Eden Hazard. According to Sir Alex Ferguson, the reason Man United did not sign Eden Hazard from Lille in 2012, instead just watching him stroll off to Chelsea, is down to agent fees. Hazard had spent the season flirting with the prospect of Old Trafford. He was eager to come. Whatever about the agent, pay him what he wants. I guarantee you this would have halted United's rapid decline, and there'd have been at least one league title post-Fergie. I mean, look what Mourinho did with Hazard. But no, they chose to sign Cago instead. 2013 Thiago Alcantara.
Barcelona's Thiago Alcantara likely to join Man United.
Now, in many ways, depriving Thiago Alcantara of the chance to link up with Pep Guardiola at Bayern Munich would have been cruel, but choosing to chuck him into a dressing room to take orders off David Moyes would have been borderline criminal. For Christ's sake, he'd probably be showing him videos of Leon Osman. With his contract expiring at Barcelona, Sir Alex Ferguson had earmarked this playmaker. David Hay was begging him to come. I'm pretty sure the appointment of Moyes killed this one stone dead. 2014 Toni Kroos. Again, another midfielder. It's mad to think it was the sacking of David Moyes which prevented this transfer. According to Toni Kroos, he was all lined up and ready to link up with Old Trafford after the 2014 World Cup, only for Moyes to get the sack, negotiations to go quiet, allowing Real Madrid to steal in and drag the World Cup winner to Spain. God, this fellow would have been a better signing than Morgan Schneiderlin, but considering since at the 4 European Cups, he probably can't believe how close he was to spending his peak years in the goddamn Europa League. 2015 Kylian Mbappe. Imagine 3 years before the 2018 World Cup final, which launched Kylian Mbappe as a worldwide superstar. Imagine being able to snap him up for 5 million quid. According to Ryan Giggs, he'd been scouting Mbappe at Monaco for a year.
It would have cost 5 million or something. Get them, loan them back, and that's where the recruitment could have been better. I know what a Manchester United player looks like.
Within 2 years, the club were desperately bidding £72 million for the lad. Yeah, clearly it was too late then. God, this one signing alone could have transformed the entire landscape of Man United. 2016 Fabinho.
Fabinho to join forces with Mourinho for 22 million.
Yeah, here's Man United ruining the failure to sign another Monaco starlet. In 2016, Fabinho was all set for Old Trafford. His wife was endorsing a switch on Instagram. It didn't happen, and so Mourinho instead watched his distracted club chuck £80 million down the throat of Paul Pogba. Well, who would you rather have now? 2017 Raul Jimenez.
Man United and West Ham expressed interest in Benfica star Raul Jimenez.
Look, I'm not knocking Romelu Lukaku. Top player, but often prone to inconsistent goal droughts. And clearly the lad is a sensitive soul. Maybe that's why he's already quit 5 clubs by the age of 26. Raul Jimenez was a risk, having failed to really set the fire alight at Benfica. But hey, they've been watching Victor Lindelof at that club for a year. They should have known he was a good player. Had they signed Jimenez, I think he'd have been a better fit for the club than Lukaku. He reminds me of a prime Dimitar Berbatov. 2018 Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. This was a classic example of Man United looking in the wrong place. Fair enough, Jose Mourinho wanted extra firepower, hence the massive wages chucked at Alexis Sanchez's head. But in January 2018, clearly Aubameyang was up for sale at Borussia Dortmund. Would it not have made more sense to spend £60 million on him? And if you think that's too much money, Harry Maguire cost 20 million more. You might say Aubameyang was too old. Lads, he was the same age as Van Persie was when he signed. He'd have been perfect. 2019 Philip Coutinho. Yeah, remember when Man United were sniffing around Philip Coutinho? I'm not sure. Maybe this would have been a dud signing, but to be honest, I still think he's a damn good player. A bit like James Rodriguez when he was sentenced to loan deals at Bayern Munich. We can still see the guy's talent. Listen, this would have definitely rubbed up Liverpool fans up the wrong way, but considering Man United were craving a bit of midfield spark for the first half of the season, I think Coutinho would have been an expert signing from Barcelona. But hey, I mean, they do have Bruno Fernandes now, so I guess it all worked out for the best. 2020 Dries Mertens. Yeah, judging from my DMs, half the world is currently in love with Odin Gallo. Fair enough, he's done better than I thought. Still hasn't scored 2 league goals though, so no me standing outside Old Trafford yet. Dries Mertens is a goal machine and apparently was available to buy from Napoli for 5 million quid in January. £5 million for a lad with over 120 goals in 7 goddamn seasons? 5 million! You wouldn't be able to buy one of Christian Benteke's elbows for that sort of price. How the hell did Man United pass this up to go and get a Gallo? Just what? Anyway, that's the end of it, lads. What do you think? Are all these really unrealistic targets for Man United? Or am I just talking nonsense? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.